So I want to share a little bit from shneur Zalman Gansburg. He says that he shares a quote from the Torah, which says, "I'm with him in pain, not taking him out, but being with him." And this is what he says is this idea of presence is the beginning of rescue. When you feel that someone's with you, it's not that they're taking you out yet. It's the sense of that there's another presence there. You're not alone. And I want to share from Simona Vivi Hadjigeorgalis on boundaries. So words are meant to clarify and connect. That's the intended outcome. So in boundaries, we're instead of the what ifs, the guilt, the yelling, the self-doubt, the over-explaining, over-managing feelings, over-predicting scenarios, we can choose clean, loving boundaries, and we start with solution framing questions. This is how we lean and pivot toward someone, toward the desire, which is, clarification and connection, rather than what we're fearing. So we're not immediately trying to stop the thing that we're afraid of. Problem framing questions are also how we talk to ourselves. What are they thinking? Why is this so hard? Why do I need to repeat myself? Why are they so difficult? Why can't we be normal? Solution framing questions are, what am I hoping to accomplish with this conversation? Or if this conversation goes well, what would I hope is going to be different after? Or once they hear what I want, how will they be impacted in a way that supports their growth? Or how do I want to feel when the conversation is over? Or what would it mean to guide rather than manage in this minute? Or what would I like them to understand even if they don't agree, even if they disagree? And the small shift, asking ourselves also, what's a small shift that would make this feel easier? So for me, I think it's sometimes a pause on contact with a person when I need to figure out some of these things. Because I had a difficult conversation just earlier tonight, and the person was name calling me. Everything I said, they were you could feel they were checking out. It's they weren't getting praise. And so I realized they were looking for praise. They were not able to hear anything I was saying. So number one, summarize for myself as if I'm simply repeating the facts. I'd like to share some context with you, and then have a question for you. Lean into a proven framework. Separate observation from interpretation, getting clear on my needs. Marshall Rosenberg shares about nonviolent communication, and that could be really helpful for people. And it's I'd like to speak about, let's say mornings, not as a lecture, but how to live together peacefully. I'd like to speak about our contact. Let's say I use my example. So I feel frustrated, honestly. Let's say it's mornings, but I would say I'd like contact to be less tense. I notice the observation, not the judgment. So I notice that you're not willing to listen to me when I express my feelings, taking ownership for my feelings. So I feel it's just self-defeatist to even try. I feel I want to give up. Need expressed as a value. It's really important to me that I am heard and that I could be my real self, not just perform for love. And then the request, so I'd like to trust you to be more responsible, make good decisions for yourself. It might be something to do with the mornings example, but I'm going to give the example where you request a clear and doable, your request is clear and doable and tied to consequences. So something I would like for you to call me when you're available to listen to my feelings. And then I will step back, and you can do it yourself. If you send a signal that you lack good judgment, then we can implement structures that support you. This is an example where a parent with the mornings, so phone boundaries, earlier curfew. It's not as a punishment, but it's because I'm, holding up my end of the parenting role. So collaborative invitation. So in my end, I would be if you can't listen to me sharing, how your actions affect me, then I don't want to continue to be in contact. And in other words, I don't need the other person to change, to do anything differently for me to do anything differently, for me to perceive differently. And there's a sense of preparedness, confidence, staying present, being in possibility. And the relief strategy sessions, for turning power into connection, it's developmental stages. We brace because when you're a steady guide, and a trusted leader, even when it feels braced or strained, it matches the developmental stage. So, new tools untangle the relational choreography. So learning a new tool is able to give you the sense that there's something that could be different about this because I'm not continuing the same choreography. And also in exploring patterns, you can pinpoint what tools don't work and implement new tools that work, and they take root even in weeks. We also get to number 3, reclaim the wheel, she says, versus this racing communication chaos. When we're triggered or activated, she likes to say it's pinged. You have to think about what that means for you. For me, it feels like blood boiling or whoosh, or the brain is like ticked off. It's a tight neck, constricted breathing. And so we turn that care inward. We show up for ourselves. We strengthen our own capacity so that the wounds or the wounded self is not reacting and taking over. Because the old knowing, the nervous system is responding to the past moment, unlearning the outdated patterns. We're tending to the community within our own 2 ears, and we communicate in ways we were communicating in ways that didn't match our current version of who we are, and we weren't able to be our best. So the brain actually does need motivation to change because of the caloric expense of change. So the vision is important. You have to hold a vision where my vision is that I can express myself without being attacked and name called and insulted. Where the other person could say, like, I'm not available right now. I'm distracted. Can we talk about this tomorrow? So the pinged one in me doesn't know who I'm talking to. But it's a signal from me to me. It doesn't know it has adult me. I could personify that ping, that like trigger. Like, let's say this dynamic with this person in the past had even led to screaming, cursing, threatening, punishing in order to overpower the other person into compliance. However, it doesn't know this version of me when it was involved in that dynamic, that I'm here. So I'm remothering myself so that this Shayna knows that I got her. I tell her we're in it together. It's not all on her now. I offer comfort, reassurance. I direct kind attention inward and honor the internal community without needing to dictate or sacrifice boundaries. And when I model new relationship and remothering myself, it actually ripples out into the world. It plants seeds of emotional freedom, compassion, and resilience. And there's also this astute honing device for safety that we can start to trust our intuition when that relationship between the inner one that got triggered and the one that doesn't know that I am okay now and enough that I can take care of that version. But due to this work, I realized I become more self-aware, and that as I repeat this, because repetitions is often the thing that actually facilitates real change, like the orientation, the roadmap, the planning conversation, the remothering, the inner insecure one, is actually how we end up being able to change. So I wanted to share, I went to a 12-step meeting on how sometimes we might consume something to suppress feelings. And it was about, for me, power dynamics, like this idea that when things didn't go well with these conversations, that I used to want to eat my feelings. So I realized that laws are for protection, not punishment. When I'm feeling empowered or powerless to save my world, and this viewing or acknowledging injustices without denial, and therefore not going into cognitive dissonance. So, burying inside of myself, or this idea of crimes against humanity where I'm burying my anger about abuse of power done to me or that others did. You give someone power and then they hurt you with it, God forbid. It's also about trusting the higher power enough to trust my anger is holy wisdom and information and meaningful. And also to be able to process, my higher power, Hashem, believes in me and has faith in me that I won't bury my anger, but that I'll live according to my moral and ethical precepts. And I have a self, and I can protect my body and make healthy choices with good outcomes, and I will affect my world for good and empoweredly, and also empower others. And when there's behaviors that are out of line with my values or acting out, they can be rectified. I can process the over-accommodating that I've done to the bullies before, in the past, where I can come up, it can come up where I get triggered in tunnel vision now when I perceive that it's, my receptors, my channels for beliefs. I might perceive, unfairness, cruelty, yet that can result in me feeling impatient, small-minded, impulsively, mistaking the limited view for the all. So I'm even thinking that person's always like that, which they may not be. And recognizing it's my higher power's will, for example, gives me a purpose, usefulness as a messenger for revolution, activism, human rights, the oneness in life, one life, social reform. Because if no one's above the law or has the right to be criminal, then officers like ICE or police officers in the bigger picture, in the private relationships we have, the counterpart, let's say the man, also must be held accountable and disciplined for violating humanity. So these toxins in the system that we might ingest because of the toxic emotions, it felt to me like they aggravated me, made me edgy, and compromised my ability to be responsible, harmless, and have integrity. And so it's all about like learning about myself and my fears and my values. And part of what I got from like intuition from my creator when I was going in with like, is that I'll go from the last to the first. So being able to be a volunteer, not to get only money for my priceless work, but to be of service, to be getting paid as exchange, or to be only interested in money and at whatever cost. Like, I'll give you a faulty product, God forbid, just so I get money. That would be like a user, consumer. But to volunteer is to be of service. So, and then number 2, exercise. So being able to get these energies in flow and part of the system and healthy